Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dogs, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to leave a comment down below with what your baseball picks are for Wednesday. Now, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at pickdogs.com in the Premium Picks tab. I'm going to be running a daily $15 MLB best bet, so you can check that out at Pick Dogs Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Wednesday, April 27th. First up, we have the New York Mets taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. This has been a pretty fun series to watch, and in this one we see Carlos Carrasco and Steven Matz as the projected starters. Now, Steven Matz, the former Mets starter, he'll be facing his former team for the second time in his career. Last year, he pitched against them as a member of the Blue Jays, and he fared okay in that start. It was a decent outing for him, and I do think he's going to have a strong outing in this one as well. You know, he is 2-1 with a 5.27 ERA. That ERA doesn't necessarily scare me. The strikeouts have been there. He's limited the walks and the home runs, and for the most part, the Mets have struggled against left-handed pitching this season. They've done a lot better against right-handers. We saw him struggle against the Diamondbacks against Madison Bumgarner, only able to score, I think, one run in that one until the bullpen came in. They were able to score plenty after that. But, you know, lefties, it has just not been the best performances offensively for the Mets. And I think Matz, you know, he's going to be fired up facing his former club. I think the Cardinals lineup is going to be able to back him up, and I think the bullpen can take care of the rest. So I'm going to take the Cardinals on the money line here at home. I think they can get the job done. Next up, we have the Kansas City Royals taking on the Chicago White Sox with Zack Greinke and Dylan Cease on the mound here. Now, if you guys have watched the show since the beginning of the season, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of what the current form Zack Greinke has right now. I think he's a very accomplished pitcher in his career, but when you only have 2 strikeouts and 16 innings of work to start the season, it worries me quite a bit. I know, you know, he hasn't really gotten burned from the first 3 starts. He has a 2.25 ERA. The teams that he's faced haven't really made him pay. And he hasn't given up a home run all year. He's limited walks. You know, that's been great. And, you know, 1.19 whip is not too bad. But to me, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the team is going to make Zack Greinke pay for not missing as many bats as he really needs to. You know, 2 strikeouts in 16 innings is not going to get it done as a starting pitcher, especially on the road against a White Sox team that plays so well at home in a rivalry spot in a divisional game. This is like a virtual, you know, a very important game. I'm not going to say must win, but, you know, White Sox need to pick up these kind of games if they want to win the division this season. And when Dylan Cease on the mound, a guy who's dominated against the Royals in the past, especially in 2021, a 1.98 ERA and 27 in the third innings against these Royals last season, I got to take the White Sox here. I'm going to lay the run line, try to get some plus money on our hands. I'll lay the 1.5 with Chicago. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks with Julio Urias and Zach Gallen as your projected starters. Now, Urias 1-1 with a 3 ERA this season. A couple things I'm concerned about in his game. The walks are up. Last year, he only had 1.8 walks per 9, but this year in his first 12 innings, he's already allowed 6 free passes. So that's something he's going to have to sharpen up a bit. Strikeout numbers are fine, 8.3 Ks per 9, not too bad. Home runs per 9, not too shabby either. And against the Diamondbacks lineup that has struggled mightily against left-handed pitching this season, one of the worst teams against lefties in Team OPS, I think Urias will fare just fine in this contest. While on the other side, Zach Gallen is definitely the best option, in my opinion, in this Diamondbacks rotation. If there was a guy to be able to shut down this explosive Dodgers lineup, this is your guy. He pitched 2 games against the Mets to start the season, and he only gave up 1 earned run in 9 innings of work with 9 strikeouts, not a single home run allowed, only 2 walks conceded as well. That gives him a .67 whip, a 1 ERA. You know, he is off to a good start, and I know he faced the same team twice, but it's a pretty good team, a Mets team that's, you know, got one of the best records in baseball. So for me, with the Diamondbacks struggling to hit, the Gallen being on the mound, the best option the Diamondbacks have, I think this is a perfect opportunity for our first Nerfy alert of the season. I'm going to take the no-run first inning. I know you dirty degenerates love these kind of plays. I'm not necessarily a Nerfy guy myself, but I'm going to oblige to what the audience wants to see. I'll take the Nerfy in the Diamondbacks-Dodgers game. Next up, we have the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Aaron Ashby and Bryce Wilson as your projected starters. You know, I'm not in love with this game. I don't think there's a ton of value betting-wise, but I'll have to take the Brewers on the run line or just pass on the game altogether. Aaron Ashby on the mound for the Brewers. You know, he's had his inconsistencies in his career thus far. He's a big-time pitching prospect for the Brewers, The strikeouts have been there. He's had 4 strikeouts in his last 3 outings, and all those outings were 4 innings or less. So he's definitely missing some bats, but the walks have been a little bit of an issue. He's only given up 1 home run this season. So I think with time, he's only going to get better. He's only 23 years old. I think he's a much better option than Bryce Wilson on the other side, who has really struggled this season with a 6.35 ERA, a 1.76 whip. He actually has more walks allowed than he has strikeouts. That's not a good sign. He's given up 2 homers in his first 3 outings. He hasn't gone more than a 4 1/3 innings in any of his outings also. So I think the Brewers can get to him, and I'll lay the run line with the Brewers in a lean here. For our next game, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the Cincinnati Reds with Mackenzie Gore and Vladimir Gutierrez on the mound here. Now, to me, I think this is the game that the Reds have the best chance of winning overall in the series, just taking a look at the pitching matchups for this entire series. Mackenzie Gore, he's pitched well in his first few starts in the big leagues, but I don't necessarily love taking young pitchers, especially in their first starts, at hitter-friendly ballparks like Coors Field and Great American Ballpark. The Reds, although their offense hasn't been great this season, they do play in a very hitter-friendly park, the second most hitter-friendly in the league. And I do worry about a guy like Mackenzie Gore. This is definitely a pressure spot for him, even though he's facing a weak team, and a team he's already faced this season. I still think he may have his struggles in this game. And on the other side, Vladimir Gutierrez, he knows this stadium pretty well over the past couple seasons. The strikeout numbers I'd like to see rise. The walk numbers definitely need to minimize a little bit. But he hasn't given up too many home runs, only 1 in his first 13 innings. And I think he can do enough to keep the Reds in this game. Not a game I love, but if I'm going to take a shot, I'll take the plus money with the Reds at home. In our next game, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Marco Gonzalez and Drew Rasmussen on the mound here. Now, both of these starters, I do have my concerns with. Marco Gonzalez, a guy that's, to me, has an issue with the long ball. We saw it last season, and we're already starting to see a little bit of it this year as well. He hasn't gotten into too much trouble with that 3.29 ERA, but he's given up 4 home runs in his first 13 and 2 innings of work. That's a lot. It's a lot of long balls you're allowing, and the strikeouts have been there. The walks haven't been too much of an issue. But against a Rays team that, to me, could do, one of the top teams right now against left-handed pitching, top 5 in the league in team OPS against lefties, I think they're going to be able to get to Marco in this one. On the other side, Drew Rasmussen, he's also got a little bit of an issue with the long ball this year. We haven't really seen it from him in his career, but this season, he's already given up 2 homers in his first 12 innings. I have my concerns with that going forward, but I think the Rays bullpen's a little bit better. I think the Rays lineup's also stronger, and at home, we're getting a pretty good price with Tampa Bay, so I'll take the Rays here on the money line. Next up, we have the Colorado Rockies taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, the Phillies are big favorites in this contest because it does look like the Rockies are going to have to go with the bullpen game here, and I don't trust the Rockies bullpen. To me, it's one of the weaker bullpens in the league. The Rockies have done a good job at their starting pitchers have done pretty well this year, and the lineup has really backed them up. But the bullpen, to me, is still one of the weaker in the National League, and I think the Phillies are going to be able to get at it here. Ranger Suarez hasn't been his sharpest, but I do think he's improving a little bit with each start this year. The strikeouts, I'd like to see rise a little bit, only 9 Ks in 12 1/3 innings, but he's only given up 1 home run this season, and I think he had his strongest start last time out against the Brewers, where he only gave up 1 earned run in 4 2/3 innings of work. I think the Phillies bats can back him up here, and I like the Philadelphia Phillies on the run line, try to get a better price with Philly at home. In our next game, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the Washington Nationals. We're going to see Pablo Lopez and Erick Fedde on the mound for this one. Now, Pablo Lopez, he's off to a fantastic start this year, 2-0 with a .52 ERA, leads the big leagues in ERA this season, 17 strikeouts in 17 innings, and .75 whip this year. That's also 6th in Major League Baseball. Coming off a fantastic start against the Cardinals, where the Marlins won 5-0 in a 7-inning shutout performance with 9 Ks in that one. I think he's going to pitch well against a pretty weak Nationals lineup. But on the other side, I also think Erick Fedde is a pretty good option for the Nationals in this spot. I know he really struggled his last time out against the Diamondbacks, one of the worst starts he's had in recent years, but I do think each and every season he's improving a little bit. And if you look at what he did last year against Miami, he pitched in 22 1/3 innings, and he only had a 1.61 ERA. I know the Marlins lineup is a little bit different this year. They added a few key bats, but still, Fedde was very, very strong against this Miami team last season. And at home, I think he can produce a quality start to keep this game under the total. It's a very low total for a reason with Lopez on the bump. I like the under in the Marlins Nationals. Next up, we have the Baltimore Orioles taking on the New York Yankees. Now, when you have big market teams like the Yankees and Dodgers, it's important to look for options to take the dog and try to get some plus money value. We know they're going to be very, very heavily bet by the public, so sometimes there can be some value on the underdog. But for me, this is not one of those spots. I think it's Yankees or pass on the run line here. Money line is not an option as it's really steep at minus 265. I'm seeing it all over the place right now, 250. So, shop your lines. But I like the run line with the Yanks. Tyler Wells has really struggled this year. 0-2, 6.75 ERA. Strikeouts are down, the walks are up, and I think the Yankees bats can get to him in a little bit of a revenge spot as the Yankees lost to Wells and the Orioles last time they faced him in this matchup. I think Montgomery faces an Orioles team that has not done a good job against lefties this year. I think he pitches well at Yankee Stadium. So give me the Yankees on the run line. Next up, we have the Boston Red Sox taking on the Toronto Blue Jays with Michael Wacha and Ross Stripling on the mound here. Now, I think because Michael Wacha has that 1-0 record with that 1.88 ERA, we're actually getting some value on the other side and fading him here with the Toronto Blue Jays. I say that because I don't think Wacha's success is very sustainable going forward. We saw him struggle quite a bit last year with the Tampa Bay Rays and the year before with the Mets. And I think he's still pitching similarly to those teams. He just hasn't really gotten burned yet. He still has a 4.67 FIP this season. His strikeout numbers are down from last year and the year before. His walks are way up at a 4.4 walks per 9 rating. He's already given up 2 home runs in his first 14 innings. And against the toughest lineup he's faced all season in the Blue Jays, a lineup that's arguably the best in the American League against righties this season, I got to take the Blue Jays on the money line at a pretty good price. I think a bargain. So I'll take Toronto on the money line. Next up, we have the Chicago Cubs taking on the Atlanta Braves with Mark Leiter Jr. and Charlie Morton as your projected starters for this contest. Now, Charlie Morton, he obviously has done a lot in his career, and we've seen him pitch very well for the Braves and the Rays and his previous teams as well. But this season hasn't been the case, and he has a 6.32 ERA, and to me, that's just not minus 200 plus money line price of value right now. I just can't take more than that price or on the run line. But I certainly can't back the Cubs with Mark Leiter Jr., who just hasn't really shown anything in his first few outings of the season with the Cubs. He has an 11.05 ERA. He's given up a home run in each of his first 2 outings. The walks have been an issue for him. And I think the Braves are going to be able to get to him at Truist Park. But I also could see the Cubs getting on the board early in this game as well. So I like the over in this one. I think the Braves could quite honestly get to that over themselves. But I think the Cubs can pitch in a few runs. We already saw them score 21 in the game this season. So give me the over in this one. I think we see plenty of offense. Next up, we have the Minnesota Twins hosting the Detroit Tigers with Michael Pineda and Joe Ryan on the mound here. Now, we see a very low total in this game, and I think it makes sense that when you look at these starting pitchers, Pineda pitched very well in his first outing of the season, 5 shutout innings against the Yankees in the game. The Tigers won 3-0. On the other side, Joe Ryan, 2-1 with a 1.69 ERA. He's got 16 strikeouts and 16 innings of work. He's 13th in the American League in WHIP rating with a .88 WHIP. And, I think he'll do a good job in this start. But do I think he right now is a minus 190 pitcher? Not really. I think that the Tigers honestly have the value on him in this one, at least on the run line. With this low total, I think runs are going to be hard to come by, so having a 1-run game is a lot more feasible, and I think Detroit has a chance to win this game overall, but if not, I think it's a 1-run contest in the Twins' favor, so I'll take the 1.5 with Detroit on the road. Next up, we have the Houston Astros taking on the Texas Rangers. We've got a pretty good pitching matchup on our hands, in my opinion, with Christian Javier and Glenn Otto. Now, Glenn Otto, he was inserted as a starter for the April 22nd contest against the A's. He pitched really well in that one in his 2022 debut. 5 innings of 1-run baseball, 5 strikeouts, and only 1 walk allowed, 2 hits allowed. He, was pretty much exactly what the Rangers needed in that rotation, and they got the win in that game 8-1. While on the other side, Christian Javier, he's been virtually unhittable this season. He's not given up a single earned run. He's faced the Angels twice and the Diamondbacks this year for 8 1/3 innings. He's only given up 1 walk. He's only given up 5 base hits, and he's got 12 strikeouts in those innings. He has been fantastic. And you know what? I think we have a good reason to take another Nerfy in this one. I'm going to take the Nerfy no-run first inning in the Astros Rangers. Glenn Otto, the only issue I have with him is his walks are a little bit high in his career, But luckily for him, the Astros are 22nd in the league in walk percentage against righties this season. I think he can hit at least through the first inning with no runs on the board. So give me the Nerfy in the Rangers-Astros. Next up, we have the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Zach Plesac and Shohei Ohtani are your projected starters. Now, I think this is the kind of game where I think ERAs are really misleading. When you look at Zach Plesac and Shohei Ohtani, 1.53 ERA for Plesac and a 4.4 ERA for Ohtani, but I still think Ohtani's in much better form going into this start. Plesac has a 6.34 expected ERA based on what he's done this season. His strikeouts per 9 rating's at 5.09. That's his worst in his career thus far. And we saw him have a lot of success in 2020 with the Guardians when he had a 9.27 Ks per 9. But last season he struggled quite a bit with the Guardians, and that was because his strikeout numbers went way down. They're even more down this year. And I think he's in trouble against the Angels in this one, a team that's done a good job against right-handed pitching. Shohei Ohtani, he had one bad outing, and that's really been the reason why his ERA is where it is. You look at what he did last time out, he was unhittable virtually, 6 innings of shutout baseball, and I like him in this spot against the Guardians. So I'm going to take the Angels on the run line here. The money line price is a little too steep for me, so I'll try to get some value back with the -1.5. In our final game of the night, we see the Oakland Athletics taking on the San Francisco Giants. With Paul Blackburn as the projected starter for the Athletics, I think it's worth a shot to take the A's in the first 5 innings on the spread, getting the half a run. Blackburn has really been a hidden gem for this Athletics rotation. 2-0 with a 1.8 ERA. He's got 14 strikeouts in 15 innings, not too bad. He's only allowed 1 walk this year, no home runs allowed, and it's not like he's faced weak lineups all season. He played the Rays in his first outing of the year on the road, then he took on the Blue Jays lineup on the road in his next start, and for the most part, he's pitched really sustainably, so I got to take a shot with him and Oakland here. I think if there was a game that Oakland was going to compete in the most, this would be it. So give me the half a run in the first 5 innings with the Oakland Athletics. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday, April 27th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks down in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best plays, you can find those at pickdogs.com in the Premium Picks tab. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.